In 2016, I discovered a show that completely changed my life forever. Advertised on Netflix as a Netflix original series, Glitter Force kind of had me hooked instantly. But when I went to look up more about it online, I was kind of shocked to find out it was in fact not a Netflix original, but a dub of PreCure. Glitter Force ended up becoming incredibly popular and well known. However, it wasn't the only attempt to bring a PreCure dub to an English-speaking market. In fact, PreCure's dubbing history is very long and convoluted, full of cancellations, mysteries, and disappointments. Before I dive into the details of that, it's important to look back on the core history of Magical Girl dubs that led up to where PreCure is today. Sailor Moon is considered a pillar of the Magical Girl genre, and it basically reinvented the wheel, popularizing the implementation of Super Sentai Tokusatsu-style action and Monster of the Week formulas. The 1995 geek dub of Sailor Moon was a phenomenon, with lots of aspects of it still being fondly remembered and referenced to this day, such as the theme song and Americanized character names. Something noteworthy is the early morning TV time slot that Sailor Moon was given. In spite of being for kids, Sailor Moon aired at about 5 AM. The show managed to maintain its foothold in popular culture despite this inaccessible time slot. Countless lines of merchandise were produced, some of them being reworks of existing Japanese toys. Despite the endless list of issues and changes with this dub, it's actually sort of interestingly faithful in some areas. The theme song uses the exact same tune as the original Japanese theme song, Moonlight Densetsu, and a lot of character names are left as close to their original Japanese meaning as possible, or even derived from similar meanings. The geek dub of Sailor Moon ran for 2 seasons, and while these had a lot of episodes removed, they still managed to cover the core stories of the first 2 seasons of the original anime and the movie. In 2000, Toei's international branch Cloverway completed and dubbed the 3rd and 4th seasons. New voice actors were hired, and there's a noticeable difference in tone within this dub. However, it was still heavily censored and localized, keeping the changed names of the characters and giving us the infamous cousins relationship between sailors Uranus and Neptune. Sailor Moon is still probably the biggest shoujo-aligned anime in the West to this day, with merchandise appearing more frequently now than ever. And this is just from an American perspective. Sailor Moon has been long beloved in many countries, and is so popular in Italy she even has a region-exclusive DS game. Since the Deke saga, Sailor Moon has been faithfully dubbed by Viz and also received a reboot series, Sailor Moon Crystal, which has also received an English dub and Netflix adaptation. In 1999, the beloved series Cardcaptor Sakura was picked up and dubbed into English by the company Nelvana. While this again was localized for an English child audience, titular character Sakura was allowed to keep her Japanese name, despite being very mispronounced.
Sakura.
Hey Sakura.
Sakura.
The show was renamed to Cardcaptors and very heavily edited in an attempt to make the series appeal more to boys, as the executives believed that they were the target audience for cartoons. Cardcaptors originally aired from June 2000 to December 2001 on channels such as Toonami, Kids WB, and even in the UK on CITV. Cardcaptors was cut down from its original run of 70 into just 39 episodes. A lot of episodes focusing on Sakura were removed, and the running order was shifted around drastically to change the plot. The focus on Lee, Sakura's rival, was exaggerated in an attempt to make him a dual protagonist. Even the theme song was designed to appeal to boys. Despite this, the series faced a kind of identity crisis, with a vast array of merchandise being more feminine, like fashion dolls, dress-up costumes, and magic wands. With Sakura used as a mascot in merchandising, it was really hard to ignore who the true protagonist of the series really was. Cardcaptor Sakura fortunately went on to be dubbed again in English faithfully after Cardcaptors, at an unconfirmed time in the mid-2000s, by a studio called Animax. This version of the dub was uncut and directly translated. The first movie was dubbed by Nelvana as part of the Cardcaptors run. However, the second movie was dubbed by Bang Zoom, and despite existing in its own vacuum, it was entirely faithful to the original Japanese. A faithful dub was later produced in Canada by a studio called Cinelume, though this version is really rare and hard to find any information on. Given the international title Magical Doremi, which Toei still uses to this day, the 4Kids dub of Ojimaju Doremi aired from August 2005 till August 2006. Magical Doremi ran for a season of 26 episodes on Fox's 4Kids block, but in November 2007, a season 2 was suddenly added on the 4Kids website. This second season was literally just the remaining 24 episodes from the original Japanese first season. Much like all other 4Kids anime, Doremi was heavily localized, with Doremi, Hazuki, and Aiko respectively becoming Dori, Brienne, and Mirabelle. This recontextualized the title of the show, from referring to the name of the show's protagonist to referring to kind of like a team name of the 3 girls. The adult-oriented movie Looking for Magical Doremi was released in 2020 for the series' 20th anniversary and received an English dub which was screened at several film festivals and cinemas worldwide. This film received limited screenings in the UK between October and December 2021 as part of the Scotland Loves Animation Film Festival. Doremi seemingly doesn't have as much of a Western legacy as her Magical Girl predecessors, and while tie merchandise for her show does exist, it just wasn't kind of on the same scale. Around the same time period in 2005 as Magical Doremi, 4Kids also dubbed another beloved Magical Girl anime, Tokyo Mew Mew, or as it was branded for the West, Mew Mew Power. This was my gateway into Magical Girl anime as a kid. As always with 4Kids dubs, Mew Mew Power was, say it with me, censored and localized. The script was very inconsistent and self-contradictory. For example, when Kiki is first introduced, we are told that she's homeless and she doesn't have a family, but a few episodes later we see her at home with her family. For all the things Mew Mew Power did wrong, it has a lot of redeeming traits. The original soundtrack and score is phenomenal, and this is kind of the case across most of the 4Kids dubs. In some areas, I think it even exceeded the original soundtrack. 4Kids really went the extra mile to make the transformation music a lot more personal to the characters and really fit their personalities. The dub was also incredibly witty and funny, with a lot of jokes still hitting really well on a rewatch these days.
Like it? Oh, totally! Great, how about a tip? Sure! Never do drugs and stay in school.
Mew Mew Power was written by Michael Hagney and Norman J. Grosfield, the same guys who wrote Pokemon back when 4Kids were dubbing it. Their writing style is really recognisable through their use of humour. In fact, I've always been a really big fan of their writing. Interestingly, only 23 episodes of Mew Mew Power aired in America, while other English-speaking territories such as Canada, Australia and South Africa received 26. Here in the UK we had 25, which aired on the channel Pop Girl from 2007 through to 2013. And the pilot episode, which was originally episode 12 of the Japanese show, was completely scrapped from the release. The versions of the show which had received the pilot episode later went on to disregard it from the show's canon as it was simply just too confusing. 4Kids couldn't obtain the rights to continue dubbing Tokyo Mew Mew past episode 26, which was unfortunately left on a huge cliffhanger. This absolutely devastated little 10-year-old me. Mew Mew Power had a few fashion dolls released as tie-in merchandise, but this was really as far as marketing went. What unifies all of these dubs is the very little faith and respect that the American executives seem to hold towards audiences of little girls. The 90s attitude of asking, what can boys get out of this, even seems to have carried over to the modern day. The magical girl genre has thrived in countries outside of Japan when given the opportunity. It's clear to see when you realise how successful it is in Italy, which is also the only place outside of Japan any official PreCure events take place. So why won't American studios take girls seriously? Misogyny is the clearest answer. It is still rampant in our culture even nowadays. In 2022, the big 22, Amy Friedman, the head of kids and family programming at Warner, stirred up absolutely generational discourse when she claimed that girls don't like animation and graduate from it at a very young age. This got a lot of people both in and out of the industry talking, such as Lauren Faust, creator of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. She really put it best. The issue isn't that girls don't like animation, it's that animation doesn't like girls. The loud majority of Western animation doesn't give them what they want or cater to their needs, and the industry is just too narrow-minded to care. She pointed out that boys' cartoons flop over and over again, but keep getting given chances. If you make a girls' cartoon and it flops, they'll pull the plug, and the opportunities for girls just shrink. This is where PreCure finally comes into play. In 2010, a show called PreCure began airing on Pop Girl right after Mew Mew Power ended each day. I always noticed it on the TV guide and on the bumpers, but I never tuned into the show because I had no idea what it was. The title made it sound like it'd be something to do with like makeup or makeovers or fashion, and that just didn't interest little me. If Pop Girl had advertised this show better, my life would probably be so different now. The dub that aired on Pop Girl was the Ocean Productions dub, and this is a reasonably faithful English dub of Futaliwa PreCure by Canadian studio Ocean Productions, who had previously had varying degrees of involvement assisting on dubs led by companies like Viz and Funimation. They even had a part back in the day in the recording of card captors. While character names and cultural references were edited, the plot and a lot of the music remained intact. The theme song was one of the few pieces of music to get the chop and be changed, and the new English theme song created for the dub is kind of hilariously messy. The best way I could describe it is like if drunk ladies really wholeheartedly let loose on the karaoke. Nagisa and Honoka respectively became Natalie and Hannah, with their surnames being Blackstone and White Castle, impressively derived from their Japanese names. The villains and fairies' names remained largely unchanged. This dub also aired on Canada's YTV, Bang Bang and South Africa's SABC2. It faded into obscurity for many years after its air cycle ended, with no one holding a license for the show. These clips could be found on YouTube, and a handful of third-party sites were hosting it. But from a legal standpoint, it was safe to say that PreCure no longer existed. That was until the summer of 2025, where Toei Animation made an absolutely insane move that nobody could have predicted. In July 2025, Toei announced an event called Weekend Summer Splash, where on their official YouTube channel they would marathon a block of nostalgic dubbed anime every Saturday morning. This marathon block included shows like Digimon, PreCure, Magical Doremi, and Bobobo. This was the first time these dubs had not only been officially acknowledged by Toei, but also legally available since their respective airing end dates. Unfortunately, this event was restricted to certain regions, so it wasn't available in the UK. While Doremi's dub hasn't even been licensed elsewhere since Summer Splash, short clips of it are now frequently shared on Toei's social media accounts. PreCure's dub has since been acquired by Hulu and can be viewed there or on Disney Plus in select regions. While small, this is still a crazy huge step for the series. English pitch trailers for Splash Star and Yes 5 were also created by Ocean Studios around the same time as the Futari dub. Both of these trailers were hosted on Toei's site for a while, and both are narrated by voice actor Scott Roberts, who had also voiced the villain Kiriya in Futariwa's dub series. These pitch trailers featured voice acting for the characters, however the cast were left uncredited and largely unidentified. Voice actress Marky Hendricks has listed PreCure on her resume but never specified what character or series, just that she was working under Ocean Productions. Max Hart was dubbed in full by Ocean Productions, but no real footage of this has ever surfaced online. All we have to go off is a list of episode titles and some promo clips. It's easy to believe that this could be the first time PreCure was ever dubbed into English. However, in September 2005, a lesser-known English dub had aired. German network RCL2 had already aired a pilot episode of Futariwa PreCure in English. The reason for this was simply eagerness to show off the new series, as the German dub wasn't ready to air at this point. However, the network was incredibly confident that this series would be a hit. There's a lot of unanswered questions attached to this dub, and why it even exists in the first place is a mystery. Speculation online has led to the conclusion that it was produced in LA. Stephanie Shea was identified as the voice of Cure White and Meppel, and Laura Cody was identified as Cure Black. The villains all seem to be played by voice actor Doug Stone. Daniel Gilbo has a credit to his name for a PreCure dub on his LinkedIn profile while never having actually appeared in one, so it's safe to assume he did play a role in some point at this mysterious production. This dub is simply known amongst fans as the Toei dub. It seems Toei commissioned it for the purpose of marketing. A month after this broadcast on German TV, Toei's USA website launched an official PreCure portal. This site was intended to advertise business opportunities for PreCure, with features like trailers, contact details, and explanations of the IP. Videos used on this site were from the same strange dub that had aired on German TV. However, once the site went offline forever, these clips were lost. At New York Comic Con in 2006, 4Kids Entertainment announced that they had acquired the rights to Futariwa PreCure, and that their dub would begin airing on their TV block every Saturday morning on Fox that autumn. Interestingly, this never ever happened, and in 2008, 4Kids relinquished the rights to PreCure completely. This in fact resulted in the existence of the Ocean Productions dub. 4Kids have never spoken out about what happened to the series, and there isn't even any proof their dub actually ever existed. Did they back up PreCure when Doremi and Miu Miu didn't perform as well as they'd hoped? Did they ever actually do any work on the series? These questions we will never have answers to. In 2007, Toei Animation USA announced they would be screening a dubbed pilot episode of Max Heart at Anime Expo. However, when the event came around, they showed episodes 30 and 31 of Futariwa PreCure instead. Presumably, this was by the same team that had handled the mysterious 2005 dub. One LiveJournal user claimed Stephanie Shea was the voice of Nagisa. The same user went on to reveal that a dubbed episode of Splash Star had been playing at Toei's booth rather than in the main screening area, and that they'd simply just messed up the event schedule and their screenings. In 2011, William Winckler Productions, the company behind the English dub of shows like Ashita no Nadja and the dub pitch of PreParrot and Minky Momo, dubbed a handful of episodes of Yes PreCure 5. These were to be used by Toei in order to pitch the series to potential investors. There's very little information documented about this, so I reached out to Winckler himself to try and clear up some of the mixed statements and discussions online surrounding this production. Winckler explained that the show was never picked up by any English networks, so eventually the rights to the dub were all sold back to Toei, who went on to release it on home video in Japan. It was marketed as a tool for children to learn English. Toei still own the rights to this dub to this day, under the agreement that if a network were ever to pick up Yes PreCure 5, this would be the dub to go to, and William Winckler would produce the whole series. The only footage online archived anywhere from this version of the dub seems to just be the opening sequence. This is just an instrumental of the original Japanese opening, so it's not really anything very exciting. Winckler produced English adaptations of the songs for PreParrot and Ashita no Nadja, so it's safe to assume that if the production had gone ahead with fully, he would have produced a full English theme song for Yes PreCure 5, and that this instrumental version was just a placeholder while the dub was being developed. This dub is currently classed as lost media, but there is still hope that one day it could surface. Some of the voice actors credited on the William Winckler dub include Aurelia Shepers, Laura Siegel, Alexa Khan, Marie Harrington, and Beth Ann Sweezer, who has stated that they also dubbed the first 5 episodes alongside episode 30, which is seen in the archived footage very briefly. This was the final attempt at making a PreCure dub, until Glitter Force was trademarked by Saban Brands in June 2013. In the months prior to this, Saban had been pitching the series under the working title Gangnam Girl, supposedly. As this was just a placeholder, there is no related content to this title. After 2 years of development, Glitter Force finally released exclusively on Netflix on December 18, 2015. The series was made unavailable in Asia, presumably due to the availability of PreCure in these areas. The first season of Glitter Force, which was the first half of Smile PreCure, was released in December 2015. The second season, which was just the second half of the series, premiered in August 2016. The trademark for Glitter Force transferred from Saban to Toei in May 2017. Glitter Force Doki Doki premiered on Netflix in August that year, and the second season followed in November. Despite the trademark moving to Toei, Saban was still credited with the production on Glitter Force Doki Doki. Saban is a name you will immediately recognise if you're familiar with Power Rangers. It's the same company that produced that series from 1993 to 2018. Power Rangers is the Americanized version of Japan's Super Sentai franchise, and was made by combining the action sequences recorded within Super Sentai with new slice-of-life footage featuring an American cast of actors. A similar philosophy was taken with Saban's spin on PreCure, with localization and plot rewrites being used more than generously. Glitter Force consisted of 2 20-episode seasons, where Doki Doki only had 30 episodes broken into 2 15-episode seasons. These were dubbed into about 16 different languages. The Glitter Force YouTube channel still exists, which holds a variety of clips from the show, trailers, behind-the-scene bonuses, and music videos. On the day of Doki Doki's release, the YouTube channel even streamed the first episode entirely for free. Advertising a TV series exclusive to a streaming service for children is incredibly hard, so YouTube is a vital clutch here for Saban. An original soundtrack was composed of the Glitter Force, with Noam Canyon as a producer. Canyon has an extensive resume of work for children's TV, including TV shows such as Disney's Witch, Miraculous Ladybug, Power Rangers, and Digimon. On top of a new score being composed for Glitter Force, a new theme song and a selection of vocal tracks for the endings were also produced with the pop group Blush, a 5-member group of women from different regions of Pacific Asia. Prior to Glitter Force, Blush had also done music for the Disney Channel series Shake It Up, and their first 2 singles debuted at 1st and 3rd on the Billboard charts. Glitter Force Doki Doki's second ending, LOVE, was the final song Blush ever released before disbanding without any public statement. And speaking of ending themes, these are a really interesting part of Glitter Force. The first instrument of Glitter Force had 10 ending songs which would rotate every few episodes. The first 2, Wake Up, Shake Up, and What We Need, used the original CGI dance footage from Smile PreCure. Every ending after this featured brand new CGI dance footage created entirely in-house exclusively for Glitter Force. These were animated at Infinite Studios and were significantly different to the original footage, with both the choreography and models being noticeably lower quality. Doki Doki stuck to just 1 ending song per season, and these both used the original Japanese footage, which was edited to cover up any reference to the word PreCure. It's never been clear what the reason behind Doki Doki having less songs was, but presumably it was due to budget cuts, as with a lot of changes within Doki Doki. Having 10 ending songs for the first instrument of Glitter Force was kind of insanely needlessly excessive, so I see why they wouldn't want to do this again. If you play Glitter Force clips side by side with their original PreCure counterparts, it's likely you'll find Glitter Force's sequences have been darkened. This is due to concerns over the bright colours and flashing lights possibly causing seizures or eye strain. While this makes the attack sequences seem a bit more action-packed and gritty, I feel like it takes away the magic and the charm of the transformations that fans love so much. The biggest difference between PreCure and Glitter Force is, you guessed it, censorship and localization. Lots of episodes were cut from both instruments of the show, but Doki Doki especially got it rough, with its episode count dropping from a whopping 49 to just 30, while Glitter Force only lost 8 of its 48 episodes. What makes this more problematic is that Doki Doki is a very plot-heavy season, whereas Smile PreCure was a bit more episodic. Lots of key plot episodes were cut from Glitter Force Doki Doki, which in turn led to some weird plot holes and very rushed narratives. Episode 1 of Glitter Force Doki Doki was actually the first 2 episodes of Doki Doki PreCure condensed into one. The episode in which the Doki Doki team earned their power-up, the Straight Royal Flush, was removed completely, so they just start doing this attack without any prior explanation or establishment that they can now do it. Character arcs and backstories were cut from both versions of Glitter Force. Kyo's sword singing to Regina during battle, which is absolutely iconic, was also removed. Baby Ai, or Dina as she is now known in Glitter Force, plays a vital part in raising the stakes of the battle in Doki Doki PreCure, as whenever she behaves selfishly, this powers up the monsters created by the villains. In Glitter Force, this aspect was actually completely removed for no seemingly good reason. Documentation of Glitter Force's production is sparse, and online discussion is an endless echo chamber. So I went on a mission to track down staff from the show to try and get a better picture of what had actually happened behind the scenes. I was able to have a conversation with Melissa Flores, the producer of Glitter Force, and had the opportunity to ask some questions that fans have been asking for a really long time. While everyone involved with the show is still under an NDA, which explains the lack of public information, she was able to give me some really good answers to a lot of questions. Something I've always really wondered about is the name changes. Cure March becoming Glitter Spring makes total sense, but I always wondered why Happy became Lucky and Beauty became Breeze. Where did the idea of calling it Glitter Force even come from? I think there's been a general assumption it wasn't able to be dubbed as PreCure due to the existing dub of the original season, but again, this is just speculation from fans. We loved PreCure as a franchise and were completely aware and appreciative of the fans it already had here in the West, but the young audience here that the show was going to be intended for had zero brand awareness of it. They didn't know PreCure and had no concept of it. We tried really hard to keep as much of the naming conventions as we could, but some didn't translate very well to the young audience. We actually ran focus groups when we began the series, trying to explore if we could keep PreCure as the name. But the mothers didn't respond well. Without them knowing what the brand actually was, they thought it placed too much focus on beauty standards. Overall, PreCure as a name was very confusing to those young girls and their mothers. One of the comments said it reminded them of hot nurses. When we changed the name to Glitter Force, it allowed them to focus more on the show. It tested by far the best. The same idea could be applied to Cure Beauty. Without context and with zero awareness of the brand, they felt it was too much of a focus on beauty standards, especially when combining that with the makeup compacts of PreCure's transformation sequences. With that in mind, we did our best to keep what we could, but we treated this as a truly separate adaptation and its own thing. I know some episodes were cut from the dub for a variety of reasons, and that some scenes and plots were altered a little. How were the decisions on what to remove made? I know the series was originally intended for Nickelodeon, so I'm curious about how it ended up as a Netflix original. I can't speak too much to that process since I'm still under NDA. What I can say is that US broadcasting standards are very different compared to those in other countries. What works in Japan may not necessarily fly in the US, especially when it comes to programming what is meant for children. To that extent, we were limited and did our best to work around it. Other cuts were made for budgetary reasons. Did any of the Japanese staff from Toei have much involvement with the production of Glitter Force? I can't speak too much about the process due to NDA, especially when it involves other companies, but I really enjoyed working with our Toei colleagues and we made sure they were aware of all decisions made. Leading on from this, was there much direction on how to adapt the show? Glitter Force really stands out as a dub because it's so reminiscent of 4Kids dubs from the early 2000s. I know Michael Hagney and Norman Grossfield worked on the show, so I'm interested to know if this just occurred organically because of their writing style and past experience, or if there was direction to go for the style. I've heard of the 4Kids comparisons, and honestly that wasn't something that we were trying to do. We were approaching the series as its own contained thing. This was always treated as an adaptation into a brand new show called Glitter Force. To that extent, we definitely made some creative changes, but every change was always done with incredible love and respect for the source material and with passion to create something that children here would love. I also know it was a polarising decision to a lot of the fans that already existed for the franchise, and I understand their frustration. I hope the entire franchise can eventually come to the US properly subtitled and dubbed faithfully as PreCure, but the decision back then was to focus on the young children, the ones who couldn't read subtitles, the ones that were watching the show with zero context of what PreCure was. I've heard so many stories of Glitter Force being a young person's first foray into anime, with them going on to discover PreCure and other anime, and that makes me really happy. I really love the voice cast of the series. They all sound like they're having fun playing their roles and all suit the characters really well. Is there anything at all you can tell me about the casting or audition process? Honestly, I can't believe we managed to cast who we did, and honestly, recording those cast members in the booth were some of my favourite memories of working on Glitter Force. We had an incredible voice director named Mary Elizabeth McGlim, and together with her and Jamie Simone, who ran the company Studiopolis that helped us record and produce the series, we had access to some amazing voice actors. We honestly got incredibly lucky that these amazing actors believed in the project, came on board and gave everything they had. The magic had everything to do with Mary and the chemistry of the cast. Like I said previously, our goal was to create the best version of Glitter Force possible. Knowing the level of talent we had, we did our very best to make sure they felt creatively fulfilled and were given the freedom to do as much as they wanted with the lines they were given. Some improv was involved, and I think that's where you get a lot of the fun. It's really hard, honestly, to cast 5 different girls because they all have to sound very different in order for each of them to feel distinct. 4 of them we found almost immediately. Laura Bailey as Lucky, Colleen O'Shaughnessy as Sunny, Danielle Judovitz as Spring, Kate Higgins as Breeze. Debbie Derryberry was our Candy, but casting Peace was a bit harder. We needed a voice in the lower register. We got lucky when Debbie Derryberry recommended a young woman who was taking her voice acting class and stood out. That's how we found Alex Cazares. Seeing her be so successful in her field today makes me happy for her. For our villains, Mary was our wonderful witch, and Kevin Silverstein was our MVP, doing 3 different characters, Brute, Rascal, and Ulrich.
When I first auditioned for Glitter Force, I didn't know which one I was auditioning for. You auditioned for like a bunch of things, and they picked me for Glitter Heart. I didn't audition for the part of Candy. The director just was like, yeah, do this part. And so I was doing Maya and Glitter Heart, and then I was Candy. And I'm surprised that when I go to conventions and see you guys, Candy is so popular.
Something that gets talked about by fans a lot are the CGI dances at the end of each episode, specifically the ones that were made for Glitter Force. Why were the extra ones made? There were 2 seasons of the show and 2 original ending dances from the original Japanese show, so this always stood out as an interesting choice for me. Remember, we were adapting Glitter Force as 1 season, so we really wanted to do everything we could to make little girls feel as invested as possible. We loved those original ending dance sequences, but 2 didn't feel like enough. We wanted more dance routines that little girls could follow, enjoy, and mimic. Additionally, thanks to our music supervisor, we also teamed up with a fantastic band called Blush, who sang the theme song for us and also recorded theme songs for us. The goal was never to try and match those incredible CGI features. We didn't have the time or budget for that. It was always just to create extra content for little girls to be able to dance at the end of the episodes. We did the best we could given our timeline and our very limited budget. Thankfully, I saw plenty of videos of little girls dancing to those sequences, and that's what mattered the most to me. It was always for them. And finally, I'd just really like to know whatever thoughts and feelings you have about working on the show. Do you have any particular good memories or experiences from it? Glitter Force will always have a special place in my heart. I truly love making Glitter Force, and it's something I remain proud of. To this day, I have little girls who tell me how much they loved it as children, and I hope more people discovered PreCure as a result. Honestly, truly, everyone on the production side of Glitter Force loved the series and truly worked hard on it. We loved the source material, and what we all wanted was to make it as engaging as possible so little girls and their families would love it and want more. At the end of the day, PreCure and Glitter Force are so special. Superheroes that little girls can look up to while still embracing the best part of themselves, being young, strong, kind and powerful while also being girls. We need more of that, and I'm thankful I got to be a small part of sharing that kind of story with a generation of kids. As I mentioned earlier, Saban gave up the trademark to Glitter Force during the production of Doki Doki. In May 2017, the trademark was fully transferred back to Toei, giving them full rights to the brand name for future adaptations, dubs, merchandising and partnerships. In the following month, June 2017, the privacy policy of the official Glitter Force website was updated, and within the small print it was confirmed that Hasbro now owned the rights to the name and brand. Saban Brands shut down in July 2018, but Saban Capital Group, its parent company, still remains in operation. Hasbro now owns the rights to all brands from Saban properties, including Power Rangers and Glitter Force. Glitter Force was finally removed from Netflix completely on November 9th, 2024. So what does this mean for Glitter Force exactly? Well, nothing. While Hasbro does own the distribution rights to Glitter Force, notably just the first 2 seasons, not Doki Doki, the chances of them ever deciding to air the series again are very low. Sure, they bought the Family Discovery Channel, so they could do the funniest thing ever and air Glitter Force, but with how dated the series now is 10 years later, and how poorly received it was at the time, why would they? Toei are seemingly currently trying to expand PreCure's reach in the West. It finally has its own dedicated English social media accounts on those platforms, and has been licensed on Crunchyroll with simulcast every week for a few years now. Plus, the Futariwa dub is available legally. Maybe if these outlets are successful, it could open up more opportunities for the franchise. It could even open up the possibility of dubbing it again for a young audience. But with a company as unpredictable as Toei, really, who knows?